up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to 100 Hours Club. And I know this this specific episode was supposed to air last Friday. But when I did that particular recording, I don't think I had my mics connected. Something happened very weird, and I just didn't feel comfortable with the actual video, so I didn't really want to put it out. So, it is what it is, but I'm glad because going into this, I was thinking that it was kind of one and done, but I believe that it was a very good verses. And if you don't know what I'm talking about the verses that just happened this past Saturday with No Limit versus Cash Money. I personally feel like it was very good energy, and for me, I remember watching all this music, not just No Limit, but also Cash Money as well. I was a very big fan of No Limit, very big fan of Cash Money, and to see them on stage, it was really dope. To see Versus come back and to see how they're doing it and seeing what they're doing with Versus. I thought it was very cool to see that, and I honestly thought that No Limit, not necessarily saying that they didn't have a chance, but thinking, not knowing how far and how much category they were going to use when it came to Cash Money. Because if you think about it, they also have Wayne, they have Nicki, they have Drake, but I guess they're part of more of the Young Money, Cash Money type of thing. It's not just specifically Cash Money. What we saw on stage on Saturday, that was what was going on back in the day when No Limit came out, when Cash Money came out. Those were the people that were in the forefront of those labels who you saw on that stage. And of course, Cash Money, you didn't see Wayne. I thought that was very strange. I thought Wayne would have showed up and he would have been like, you know what, let me step in, let me make an appearance, let me bless the stage, because it's not only Cash Money, it was a No Limit thing as well. So, it was something they all did together. And, but it is what it is. Wayne didn't show up. And of course, on the behind the scenes, people kind of know that Turk is beefing with BG. So ultimately, if he's beefing with BG, he's beefing with Birdman, he's beefing with, somewhat all of Cash Money. So that's why you didn't see those two gentlemen on stage. Well, honestly, I don't know why. Of course, with BG, of course, with Turk, everybody on the outside kind of know, they know why he wasn't on stage, because of course he's beefing. But as far as with Wayne, I heard something that he was busy, that he had a show booked the same day, and in his contract he couldn't drop that show. I'm not too sure, but when it comes to the history of Lil Wayne, and not necessarily particularly Cash Money, but the relationship with him and Birdman, I don't think the loyalty is there the way it used to be. Like, Wayne was the last member of Cash Money to actually stay on the label when everybody else left. And to think that Wayne was the youngest of the whole crew, and everybody, like, when Cash Money came out, it started with BG. Once Juvenile started dropping music, that's when it kind of took off, and we got the Hot Boys, we got Lil Wayne album, we got Turk album. That's when everybody started coming out. So Wayne was always the younger one, the one just around, the one that wanted to be, I guess, down, down with Cash Money. So, he really showed a lot of loyalty to Cash Money and to what they were doing and what Birdman was doing, what Slim was doing. Like, he really showed a lot. Like, he was pretty much all in at that point. And, when everybody left, Juvie left first, Manny Fresh, I believe, left, Turk, BG, all of them ended up leaving. And Wayne continued to stay, pretty much kept the lights on at the building, in my opinion. And to see and to hear what Birdman did to him, shelving Carter 5. And when we got Carter 5, it wasn't really a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? It was something that we kind of when there, I guess he was sitting on the album, so the album was there. Songs were 2 years old, 3 years old. So Birdman kind of did that to Wayne. He did a lot of faults. Like for him to call him his son, you would think he'd like take care of him a little bit better when it comes to all of that. But of course, it is what it is, and for them to be where they're at now, they're probably maybe when they see each other, they're not going to be beefing and fighting with each other. But for Wayne to say, "Hey, let me drop this so I could go help you out," or so I could go represent. I don't think Wayne is at the point where he really wants to do that. Like he's Young Money and he says it real proud. The two artists that he brought to Cash Money, which would be Nicki Minaj and Drake, they have cut ties with Cash Money as well. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things like his entity is he's kind of separating himself from that, like he's whatever he created, whatever he brought to the table, whatever he pretty much brought to Cash Money, he's pretty much taken with them. What we saw on stage on Saturday, that is how Cash Money was birthed. That's where it began, with those artists right there, and of course with Lil Wayne, with Turk. And it's crazy to think like 20 30 some odd years later, like grudges come out, and people were talking behind your back, and I guess that's what was going on with Turk and BG. And to see Turk in his position, it kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. You have artists that want to be invited, but when they're not invited, it turns into something else. And you know I thought personally that that was the biggest fault or the biggest down for Cash Money. I feel like if they had kind of had that unity, and I think, and supposedly Lil Wayne did not want to perform without Turk. So, and Turk and Lil Wayne, they're very close, but supposedly that's what it was as well. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that are being said behind the scenes, and I think not having that unity and having that that togetherness with Cash Money, I think, is what kind of really hurt them. And when on the No Limit side, damn, like, yo, I felt like they had the vibe from the beginning to the end. You saw Boz, you saw a bunch of like, and it's crazy to think about it, because if you go back and watch, Body, if you go back and watch some of these videos, that's the way them guys were back then. Camouflaged up, muscles just ready to, bust ahead, like that is the vibe that Master P has always brought to the forefront. And it's like they start I believe Juvie started with 400 Degrees, and No Limit. I mean, yeah, No Limit. They started, which was Master P started it off with No Limit Soldiers. And one thing that I always commend Master P and No Limit is their anthems, their No Limit anthems. Like, they knew how to put these songs together. They're posse cuts. My bad. They're posse cuts. They put those posse cuts together so well. Like, there's No Limit Soldiers 1, No Limit Soldiers 2. There's a couple of other ones. I believe there's one on C Murder's album. Like, the way he put those posse cuts together, it's at the, man, like, it's dope. And the way he brought the energy to the stage, and like, I thought it was dope. We got a chance to see Fiend. We got a chance to see Mia X. I personally think Mia X really, really shined out there on that stage. Like, she had more verses than anybody than Master P on that particular stage. And like, I believe that's exactly what I say about, like, when I think of hip hop's rap, like when I think of females rapping in hip hop, I think of someone like Mia X. Like, don't get me wrong, the Ice Spices, the Lottos, the Meg the Stallions, they cool. They cool, but as a man, as a guy, I don't want to be repeating what they're saying. I would rather repeat something that Mia X saying, because that just comes out a little bit more. Like she's still a female, but the way she brings it and the way she delivers it, it's just like those are bars, and she can like she still puts pressure. In my opinion, she's still putting pressure on these females. And if any female saw that, any female rapper saw that particular battle, take some lessons. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but that's what I grew up. That's the female music I grew up on. Like I say, Eve, the Brat, Trina, like even they were talking about their body, but they did it in a different way, in my opinion. Because now I've had a chance to grow. I've grown. So now I look at this shit different. Like it's different. You kind of try to understand it. But back on topic, Mia X, I think she really killed it. I think she really represented. Shout out Mac. He did his thing. Fiend did his thing. I think I said his name already. Silk the Shocker was out there. And I honestly think that what made No Limit win was the music they were playing. Was the lineup of what they played. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let me see if I can find it. But I think with No Limit, what they did with the music, that's what. So I don't know if I can find the lineup. Like, okay. Yeah, okay, so bam, like right here. So I honestly feel like I said, I think for me, it was what No Limit went with, and then what Cash Money went with. Okay, so Cash Money started off with 400 Degrees, but No Limit came back with No Limit Soldiers. So to me, I didn't feel like. Of course, I'm gonna give it to No Limit. Then they came. No Cash Money came with Stay Still Fly. No Limit came with Break Me Off Some. And these are hood like anthems. You know what I mean? Like when a lot of these songs, Master P was popping, but I think he would like I think for Master P, he's always been a popular artist, but he's always been an artist that really kept it gutter. Like he's never been that artist that really went mainstream. You know what I mean? Like even when he was doing particular things, like he was still always hood. Like, and that's one thing always about Cash Money. I think the only one that really got commercial success out of all of this was probably Wayne, because Wayne did that. And maybe Silk the Shocker, because Silk the Shocker, around his time he was out there, he was winning awards, he was winning all that. Then Cash Money came with Project Bitch. That's another good track. Freaky Hoes, that's when No Limit dropped. That's Mia X. Then Cash Money came back with Rich Ends. Then No Limit came with How We Do That There. How you do that there, and brought out Moby Dick. So you know what? All that, like a lot of the songs that No Limit had, they actually had the artist there. So that was dope in itself. But then BG came with Cash Money is the army. But then No Limit hit him with Bourbons and Lax. So so you like yo, when you hear Bourbons and Lax, it's like Bourbons and Lax, my bad. Bourbons and Lax. When you hear that, yo, it's a vibe. Like it's really a vibe. When all this music and everything I said, when all of this came out, it's all a vibe, man. Like it's a vibe. That's why when you hear Break 'em Off some, like it's a vibe. How you do that there? New Orleans, yo, it's a vibe in my opinion. So like I said, yeah, like this is now why I understand the saying you had to just be there. And you had to just be there. Like when I was listening to this music, I thought I was the only one really listening to this, because around myself, like I was like a real hip hop head. Like, yes, one of my best, yes, my best friend, he'll tell you like, you tell me a song, I could sing it, I could I could rap it, I could spit it. You dig? So I was always into the music, and when No Limit came out, I was definitely a No Limit soldier. Then when Cash Money came out, I was definitely a fan of Cash Money. Still to this day, like I said, the music, listening to this music was dope. Cash Money came with Slow Motion. That's another one. RP Soulja Slim. But then No Limit hit him with I Can Tell. You ain't gotta say too much from the look in your eye. I could tell you one of yo, yo. Whoa. I I don't know, man. I don't know. Right there, No Limit. Then you had Bling Bling, and then you had It Ain't My Fault. And that was part two. There's two versions of There Ain't My Fault. Part one is on the Shocker, or change them, Charge It to the Game, Sook the Shocker's first album. That's part one with Mystical. Part two came out on Made Men, Sook the Shocker album. I think it was one of his last, like his later albums. Part two, still with Mystical. But when I heard it, I knew it was part two. It wasn't part one, it was part two. Okay. And then you had Cash Money come out with Bling Bling. That's dope. But you could tell they cut out Turk's verse. You could tell they cut out, I think, Wayne's verse. I feel like Cash Money was only spitting one verse. And it was like their timing wasn't very on point, if that makes sense. Like they were up there very little, and No Limit was up there a lot. Because when even with Bling Bling, I think the only one that rapped were BG and the ones that were on it, I think it was BG, Birdman, a couple of people, not everybody. So, but then after that you had, like I said, with Ice Cream Man, that's a hood classic in itself right there. That right there. So after that, you had Set It Off, which is another dope track from Juvenile. From that, it went to Body Body, another hood anthem. It's gonna get played more than Set It Off. In my opinion, that's a hood anthem. After Body Body, you had number one Stunner. And Birdman and P, they had some words, but it was nothing like crazy words back and forth with each other. And then you had Make 'Em Say, Get Your Roll. Then No Limit, Make 'Em Say, Cash Money, Get Your Roll On. Two dope tracks, but everybody's going to go to Make 'Em Say, After that, you had I Need a Hot Girl. Dope, another dope song, but another dope track. But Turk and Lil Wayne were not there to perform their verse. And their verse, they went back and forth with it. That was dope. When that song came out, that was dope. So that kind of sucked that they weren't there to perform it, because after that, they hit them with Chopper Style. And Chopper Style, man, is like, I don't know. And then after Chopper Style, they did show homage to Lil Wayne. Nobody shouted out Wayne. Nobody shouted out anybody in Cash Money that were supposed to be there that were not there. So whoever was there, that's Cash Money pretty much. No one but BG is the only one that had a Cash Money medallion. Not even Birdman had a Cash Money medallion. He had a Young Boy medallion. He was representing Young Boy. So, okay. After that, so they did have a Wayne one, and then after that, it went to Down for my ends on No Limit. That's mic drop right there. That's mic drop. You dig? And after that, what Cash Money got to perform last, I believe, and they went with Back That Ass Up. That's a hood classic in itself. Like I said, when you hear that doom 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 doom, when you hear that, some ass is about to be shaken somewhere. Your aunt, your uncle, they could be in their 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s, but when they hear that, they just want to shake. You dig? So overall, personally, I think it was a very good show. I didn't see it particularly right there. Me and my cousin had his iPhone out, and he had it playing when we were at my sister's party. Shout out to my sister. Happy birthday to my sister. We just celebrated her birthday this past weekend. We tried watching it right there and then, but I had to get on the mic. We had to make some announcements and stuff like that. So I didn't get to watch it firsthand right there and then, but the next day I did turn it on. I did get a chance to watch it. I did get a chance to see, versus just wanting to talk about it and not knowing what happened. And that's one reason I avoided like news lately because I wanted to see the verses and hear it for myself and see it for myself and judge it for myself on who really won and who really did their thing. And I think that No Limit did take it if it's a competition thing. I think No Limit was a little bit organized, more organized than what Cash Money was. And I think a lot of people showed up, a lot more people showed up for No Limit than what people showed up for Cash Money. No Limit and Cash Money have been around for a very long time. Both companies are very both successful. You got Master P in charge of No Limit. You got Birdman and Slim in charge of Cash Money. And throughout the years, yeah, they on both ends they probably did skim some people. They probably did. They probably didn't pay everybody what they should have deserved. But at the end of the day, they still came with some dope ass music, dope ass sounds, new styles, new words, and they paved the way for the culture. Um, to to be a youngster watching this, and then being the age that I am now, being able to watch it and being able to absorb it, it's a blessing in itself. Cause like when you're young, you wanna grow up so quick. Your mom's telling you this, your dad's telling you that, your sister, your brothers, they're fucking with you. They're being brothers. They're being, especially when you're the youngest, you always feel like everybody's like not attacking you, but you always feel like you get the scraps. And you wanna just fucking grow up. You wanna grow up, you wanna get out the house, you wanna not take advice, you wanna not do all that. And sometimes people end up making choices that cost them their life, and whether jail, whether the cemetery, whatever. And sometimes people make those decisions and make it out and really realize and see that that wasn't the right decision, and you have a second chance. You might have a third chance, you might even have a fourth, fifth, sixth chance. You know what I mean? Just whenever you get it right, you get it right. When you're young, you don't think about what's gonna happen in 10, 20 years. You just go with the flow. When you're young, you just do everything that you feel is popular. You do everything that you feel is deserved. And when you're young, you want to be old. And you, like I said, you live life fast. And, if something would have happened to me when I was young, I probably would have been like, oh, whatever. But now that I'm older, I honestly see that getting old is a gift in itself. It's not it's not wrong to say that you're this age. It's not wrong to say that you're that age. It's not wrong to say any of that. It's a privilege to say that. It's a privilege to say that you've been through this much. It's a privilege to say you've been through this, you've been through that. And when you try to give people advice, you're going through life experiences. You're not necessarily giving people advice just to give them advice. And like I remember RP to my Uncle James real quick, but I remember when I was being dumb back in the day, he had told me too. He's like, hey man, I could tell you this. I could give you and tell you like, hey, I've been through it, don't go through it yourself. He's like, but us as humans, 1 out of 10 humans are gonna listen because as humans, we learn off of experience. Like someone could tell us that the stove is hot, but we're gonna touch it for ourselves to know. And it's a gift, man. It's a gift to get old. It's a gift to see things grow. It's a gift to grow yourself. You got to give yourself the right vitamins. You got to make sure you're hydrated. You got to do the necessary things to get through it. Growing up is not easy. Growing up is, surviving is not easy, but it's moments like this that make me feel and makes me feel good about myself and makes me feel proud that I'm still here. And even if I'm going through some ups and downs, I'm still here to go through it. I'm still around. I'm still chasing things. I'm still chasing dreams. I'm still chasing and trying to figure out where I want to exactly be. Because man, I've been doing this for a minute. I could give up and whatever. I could, but I'm not. Because I'm still trying to find my way. And you know what? I just turned 40. And being 40 feels good. Now they say, you got to start watching your health more. You know, I think watching your health is something that's mandatory with we what with what is presented to us in front of us. It's always mandatory to stay healthy. So I ain't tripping, but like I said, at the end of the day, being able to see this and being able to experience this and being able to hear this, like my wife, when I was watching the actual verses, my wife is like, man, you're so focused, you're so like zoned out, like, and it's like I am zoned out, but I'm paying attention because if I was younger, I probably would not be paying attention to nothing but that. But as I'm older, I know my daughter's right there. I know she's playing. I know she's doing her thing. My wife is in the kitchen. I know that they're right there. I'm paying attention to all of my surroundings. But yes, am I enjoying and am I vibing with what's in front of me? Hell yeah. Because you know what? Everything I heard from the No Limit to the Cash Money music brought me back to a particular time. And just like I said, a particular vibe. And that's what this shit is about. Don't don't get it discouraged. Don't look down. Don't be like, hey, you know, I'm I'm getting old. I'm getting this. I'm getting that. Enjoy that. You know, be proud to say that 10 years ago there was nothing there. Now there's something there because there's buildings going up everywhere. We have more buildings than when we have green on this land. You dig? And it is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, Cash Money, No Limit was a very epic show. I'm very glad that I was able to watch it. And all that just tells me is, you know what, be proud to get old. Because we all gonna get old. Embracing it and accepting it, that's the biggest thing that you could do. You dig? So y'all have a wonderful night. Y'all stay positive. Y'all stay up. And I have nothing else to say. This is your boy Nesto. Y'all be easy. $100 Club.